Good morning. Thanks, Jason, and thank you all for coming. My name's Alice Hutchings. I'm a cybercrime research analyst here at the AIC, and I've recently come here from Griffith University, so hi to all the Griffith University students out here. I'm going to be talking to you today about cybercrime and social media. So hopefully this will help you in avoiding victimisation, and hopefully it will not help you in coming up with ideas about how to actually commit it. Okay, so social media refers to a type of interactive media that uses Web 2.0 technologies. Compared to traditional media sources such as newspapers, radio or television, these technologies allow for a greater number of senders and more potential for two-way interaction among senders and receivers. So examples of social media include Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, YouTube, blogs, Foursquare, dating websites, LinkedIn, and we've recently seen the introduction of Google+, the new social media website by Google. So does anyone actually have accounts with any of these social media? Yeah? So this will be very useful for all of you then. Now, there are a number of benefits associated with the use of social media. So, for example, you can mediate social life by bringing you news, entertainment and information, which people use to build views of the world and their personal identity. Media also better prepares people for social interaction, providing more information about society and a more comprehensive view of the world. Law enforcement applications of social media include engaging and communicating with local communities. So you may have Facebook profiles developed by policing agencies, and that could be at a local level, at a state level, federal level, etc. Social media can also be used to gather intelligence and develop leads in relation to investigations, as well as to vet job applicants. So be careful about what you put up there. Now, cybercrime can be thought of as offences that take place in cyber rather than terrestrial space. Like physical space offences, cybercrime offences that take place using social media can be categorised as crimes against the person, so for example cyber grooming, cyber stalking or cyber bullying, or property crimes such as unauthorised access, dissemination of malware, fraud and identity crimes. Now, in addition to these, social media can be used to commit crimes that happen in the real world, such as burglary, rape, assault and murder. Cyber grooming, cyber stalking and cyber bullying all involve unwanted or inappropriate contact through social media. Social media can be used to identify, locate, contact, gather information about or harass targets. Perpetrators may be known or unknown by the victims. A study by Monash University found that 72% of surveyed Australian middle school students had experienced unwanted or unpleasant contact by strangers on their social networking profile, so it is quite predominant. Now, just a bit of information about cyber stalking in particular and what that incorporates. So cyber stalking involves a number of behaviours. These could include sending repeated or unwanted messages, publicising private information about a victim, spreading false information, gathering information online about a victim, encouraging others to harass a victim, or accessing another's accounts without authorisation. There is actually a lack of consensus about what cyberstalking does and does not include. So for example, does repeatedly accessing another's Facebook page constitute cyberstalking even if no illegal activity has actually taken place? So does anyone know what's been depicted in this photo? Who's heard of Anonymous? Yeah, excellent. So unauthorised access involves access to social media accounts, and this can actually take place using a variety of methods, including phishing, malware infections, Wi-Fi vulnerabilities or social engineering. So phishing refers to fraudulently obtaining login credentials by appearing to be a legitimate organisation, such as a social media site. Typically, victims are contacted by email and directed to a bogus website to enter their personal information, which can then be used to access the account. And I mentioned before about Google+, a new social media site that's recently been open for beta access, and it's actually already had phishing attempts on Google+, so it can actually happen quite rapidly. Now, malware or malicious software includes spyware and keyloggers. And these can be used to capture account login information. Common ways that computers become infected include visiting websites delivering malicious software or opening email attachments. Now, in relation to Wi-Fi vulnerabilities, there is a vulnerability when using unsecured wireless connections. So users of these connections are actually at risk of having their sessions hijacked. This leaves their accounts accessible to other network users without their knowledge. And this occurs when visiting unencrypted websites as cookies, users used as authentication tokens sent by the website can actually be intercepted. So, if you're flying home and you're at an airport, just be careful about using the unsecured Wi-Fi that's made available. Now, a less technical method for gaining access is social engineering, and this is where account holders are tricked into providing their personal information using persuasion and influence. Now, account holders may also use information that's readily available about themselves when setting up accounts. So setting password reminders to things like pets' names or mothers' maiden names may not be sufficient when posting your photos of those pets online or when family trees are available on the internet. Unauthorised access may also be used to commit some of the personal crimes mentioned previously, such as cyberstalking or cyberbullying, as well as defacing somebody's profile, committing online fraud, identity theft, sending spam messages, or inviting you to click on links to websites that distribute malware. Social media sites can be used by scammers to contact potential victims. Types of online fraud that occur using social media may include romance scams, money transfer requests, and clickjacking. Spam may also promote fraud on social media or social networking sites. Now, romance scams are typically conducted using online dating sites, although they can be committed on, say, Facebook or MySpace and so forth. Offenders strike up online relationships with potential victims before requesting money, allegedly to cover the cost of a flight or medical expenses. Victims are usually groomed over a considerable period of time, and this can take a year or so. So there's really a deep trust and emotional relationship that develops here. So if suddenly you've been having an online relationship with somebody and they say, oh, I've been hit by a car, I'm in hospital, I can't afford to pay my medical bills. And then you get an email from a hospital as well. These are quite complex, saying, this person has nominated you as being their contact, you need to pay $5,000. It really is aimed at the emotional level there. Now, money transfer requests can occur when social networking profiles have been accessed without authorisation. So this could involve a plea for help from a friend whose account has been compromised, advising they've been stranded overseas, lost their passport, mugged, or a range of other calamities. Now, this may appear quite legitimate because you might know that they're actually, yes, over travelling in Mexico or something like that, and they send through a Facebook message saying, I've been mugged, and in actual fact they are in Mexico. They haven't been mugged, but they've accessed their social media site using a cyber cafe which has been infected with malware, the computer they've been using, so their login credentials have actually been compromised. They may request that you send them funds using a money transfer money transfer service, and it's obviously not going to your friend. Now, clickjacking, has anyone heard of clickjacking before? Or like jacking? No one? This is, you may have actually seen this if you are a user of social media. This refers to being tricked into clicking on a provocative link such as girl caught by dad while making video on Facebook. Yeah, this rings some bells. Yep. This generates a like feed story. Now, if you click on that link, you may actually be taken to a page where the perpetrator is paid for page views. More scary is actually you may be taken to a page where malicious software is distributed. So if you're operating using full administrative privileges and a vulnerable operating system, then you actually may have malware installed on your computer. So it's always a good idea to use some type of antivirus. Now, spam sent through social networking sites may also promote other frauds, such as the sale of fake pharmaceuticals or job scams. And job scams can actually be used also for money laundering, so it's kind of furthering what can happen in terms of the VAT offence. Now, this is a fake profile, but this is used to illustrate that people do actually provide a wealth of information. Can people read what it says there? No? Okay, so it says research analyst at the Australian Institute of Criminology, studied at Griffith University, lives in Canberra, Australian Capital Territory, and born on the 6th of July. So only one of those is incorrect. It's not my real date of birth. So people often provide a wealth of information about themselves on social media sites. These can be used to commit identity crimes such as identity theft and identity fraud. If this example were real, you'd have my full date of birth, location, where I worked and studied, and part of my date of birth. Cross-referencing this information with other databases, such as electoral rolls or telephone directories, and you start to develop a more complete picture. Now, the internet allows the offender not only to obtain information about a victim's identity, but also provides a forum for the subsequent use of that identity, such as using a credit card, incurring debt in somebody's name, or obtaining a passport. Now, malware or malicious software includes viruses, worms, keyloggers, spyware, trojans, or botnets. Computers can become infected by visiting websites hosting malware, and I mentioned before, links to these sites could be provided on social media sites. Potential outcomes of malware infections include account names and passwords being compromised, and this may lead to fraudulent activity, files being accessed or copied, and corruption of hardware or software resulting in computer downtime or a slowed computer network. So if this happens to your place of work, it could have considerable implications for the business. Botware may also result in the infected computer being used as part of a botnet, a network of compromised machines, and these machines are known as zombies, which among other things can be harnessed to send spam and conduct denial of service attacks. These may also, as well as having an impact on another business, consume the bandwidth for yourself in the process. Now also, if a computer infected with botware is found to be sending spam, the internet service provider may disconnect or suspend the internet connection until it's been rectified.